Well, you've waited a whole damn 6 days, and you're all asking for that part two with Big Boots Murphy on Weekly Controversies. And well, here it is. So enjoy the lads continuing their conversation, talking with Boots about controversial opinions in wrestling. And remember, whatever they say is completely Tony's fault. So if any of you want to riot, pitchforks, torches, and send them Tony's way, we're not responsible for that here on the FiveMarks. That's all Tony. So sit back, relax, and blame Tony.
And I would love to get into the whole list, right? Because we don't like have it. We're literally on a limit time. But can I get one more opinion on that list that we can discuss about before we get into me and Tony's takes?
Yes.
Real takes?
Yeah.
Right. Right. So this is a twofer. Probably not the most controversial one. Maybe I don't know. So it's 2 points, but they actually are the same thing. Pre-pandemic wrestling, OTT wrestling specifically, has killed post-pandemic wrestling. And then OTT fans can't let go of pre-pandemic OTT.
Preach. Fucking preach.
So the first OTT show I went to was Scrappermania 4. So I'm speaking as a former fan. Like I went to OTT shows before I started training, and before the pandemic. So I feel like I'm an authority. What I find is a lot of fans really liked that style of wrestling, and the style has changed. If you look at OTT back in those from let's say 2014 to 2020, it was almost copying the style of NXT Black and Gold around that time, in my opinion. Where it was a lot of big flashy moves, very indie. Obviously, it's an indie company, so it's very indie. And slowly over the years, started waning off of character. If you look at the start of NXT under Triple H, it was very character focused. It was like Bailey, it was the Demon from Balor, it was Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, like these distinct characters. And as soon as they graduated, then more and more of the big stars of NXT were more just straight, I'm a great wrestler and I'm going to get over for my wrestling. And nobody was a great promo. They're good, but they're not great promo. The only character really was Velveteen Dream and Aleister Black. And then Velveteen Dream decided to be a nonce.
I thought Adam Cole
I was gonna say I wasn't sure if we were able to mention his name, but yeah, here we got it was mentioned.
Adam Cole, 100%. The Undisputed Era was fucking fantastic. But they would fall also back into we're just great wrestlers. Adam Cole was probably the most character-esque, but now that's not to say they didn't have characters about them or characteristics, but they weren't even like a Cody Rhodes is nowadays, where he is this like American hero and there's distinctive characteristics, and you know how he's going to react if somebody does a certain, like I say, if somebody mentions family, you know what Cody Rhodes' character is going to say about family and blah 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 blah. You wouldn't really have that in later stage NXT, and that was the same with OTT. OTT started out with Session Moth Martina, started out with the lads from the Flats, started out with the Wards, Kings of the North. All these characters, the Gymnasties, all these characters started like blowing up OTT, and then as soon as it got to its peak, it started being Walter, who is a character, but it's not. He wasn't there for every show. More Than Hype, they're all just really good wrestlers. Terry Thatcher, they're just a really good wrestler. Jordan Devlin is a really good wrestler. Curtis Murray is a really good wrestler. Who else was there? Well, you know. Um,
Oh man,
um,
give me a ball again later. Woo!
no, Scotty Davis, really good wrestler. Like Michael May, really good wrestler. And that was their characteristics. Well, not their characteristics, but that was their characters. They're really good at wrestling, and Scotty Davis would do that, and that was to differentiate him from Michael May, who did that. Was his
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that was the difference between Scotty Davis and Michael May was hand gestures, and a mustache. But once the pandemic ended and we came back, all of the guys that were wrestling weren't really characters. And it's not really changed since. I don't think anybody really has a distinct character up until my group of lads that I started with. No offense to anybody that came before us, but Barry's probably a character. Sam is a character. Um, but I don't
Nemo?
know. Limo, yeah. Again, it is kind of hard to differentiate gimmick versus character. You know, I think
Mm.
character is reactions, like what your character or how your character would react. A gimmick is your discern, like your look or your characteristics. You know, there's a difference there that I find that you don't really get in OTT. You get kind of gimmicks, and I'm including myself in this. You know, like I'm since a lot of our shows are like you said, there's 7 matches, and maybe 2 will have storylines, and 3 at a push. I've not had a storyline in OTT
Yet.
yet, but I've not had something where I can sink my teeth into and display what my character would do if X happened with Y. You know, but a lot of the fans as well. So that's why I'm kind of like pre-pandemic OTT really has kind of set current OTT back a bit because there's nobody that's really OTT championship material. Like nobody, none of the Irish homegrown lads are OTT championship material. Sam was, Barry could be, but there's not been a truly like Jordan Devlin esque. This guy is our Irish champ, and we can put him on the front of a poster, and people will be like, oh, "He's Irish. I want to come and watch him." And then as well in terms of story, in terms of style of wrestling, a lot of fans, I think, really want that style of indie wrestling that OTT used to have. Yeah, it's not my strongest opinion, to be honest with you, but because like that also includes me, and I'm criticizing myself, which how can I do that? But
This is perfect.
exactly. But yeah, it's something that I don't think of myself as like I'm not. I want to wrestle a WWE main event style. That's my mindset, and that's what I strive to do, and that's what I hope to do in the future in OTT and beyond. But yeah, it's not my strongest opinion, but one that I think is interesting.
No, there's definitely an interest in me anyway when you talk about that, because going back to the Sanity episode that I did, I talk about these wrestlers like the up and coming Keen Noonan and all this stuff, and I'd be talking about how brilliant they are and how they have potential to be amazing as a wrestler, but I don't really actually ever talk about their characters or their gimmicks and stuff. So I think I remember watching back the episode, because I always do, right? I don't do it to give myself a big head. I always go back to the episodes to see if I said something wrong or I could say something that's different. And I think I remember 2 or 3 times I said about, characters that should turn heel and stuff. Now, I don't want a whole OTT roster to be healed, but for the simple fact that if you give that characteristic to a character and they could run away with it and then they could do something with it, I think it could make a compelling storytelling for that character and beyond. Now, I don't know if I'm going to say it to you because you're a guest on the show, but you were one of them wrestlers I talked about and
Yeah.
was what Jake Coleman said on Sanity. And this is just what I said to Rob. I goes, if they did something with the Boots character where the injury then affected the way his mindset was and then he turned heel when he comes back, that's just what I was thinking. It could then give you a reason to be Big Boots Murphy, to be this monster, to be unstoppable. That was just my thought processes on it, because you need more of that. You need more compelling characters than just people who can be good in the ring.
Yeah, 100%. Like you need that thing to make you engaging. And for me, whether fans are booing me or whether they're cheering me, they are engaged with me when I'm out there. It's just for me personally, whether I don't need to be a bad guy. A lot of people want me to. I don't need to.
Fair enough. No.
I like all I need is something to latch onto. And yeah, I don't personally see a benefit for me to be a heel in OTT because everybody's a heel already. There's way too many heels in OTT.
That's what I was saying. I don't want a whole roster being heels.
Yeah, so I don't really want to turn heel. I don't think it would benefit me at all. But like you said, it does create more of an interest in a person into a wrestler. But you can achieve that with just having an interesting story. And that's, I would agree with you, like me and Keane Noonan were two lads that have not been given something to latch onto. But when we are given something to latch onto, like people are invested, and the thoughts of being heel are just pushed back because, oh no, we have something to be emotionally invested in ourselves, so the audience can be emotionally invested into us, so we can show characters, so we can show that we're not just this one note, or I'm going to wrestle. It's I'm going to wrestle and I'm upset in this area, or I'm happy about this area, or I want to defend myself in this area, or whatever motivation the character might have. So for me, like, I don't need a heel turn to be engaged. I need a championship to run after. I need a challenge from somebody. That's what me and Joey had, or me and Terry Thatcher had. We had a challenge. We had not only the challenge of he had beaten me before in Hard Knocks, which isn't OTT canon, but it's still Irish wrestling canon. He had beaten me before, and we had probably my most high profile match to that point. And we needed to top that. And so there was two things that I was chasing there. I was chasing the win over Terry Thatcher, and I was also chasing the admiration and the and just the 5-star rating of our last match to top that. I needed to chase the better outcome, and all that pressure, led to that. But pressure creates diamonds, as they say. And whenever I'm coming back, and I hope to God I can come back, we'll know tomorrow after this X-ray. I'm looking to shine brighter than ever.
Well, you know what? You're actually reading my mind, because when you say pressure makes diamonds, when you come back, you're going to be a display to shine.
There we
go. So there you go.
There you go.
But no, I absolutely love that. And yeah, when you do come back, we can't wait for your return. We are looking forward to see what you do, no matter what work you do. I'm not saying that as a guest. I think even said it to you before. I said it to you at the local Rumble. I know I probably had a few drinks, which I do apologize, by the way. I do remember saying to you, I think out of everyone, because see, I don't just go to willy-nilly and say, oh, well, you're brilliant, you've this, you've that. Particular, I said 3 people who had big futures. I said Bittersweet Josh, I said Keane Noonan, and I also said you. I said, out of all the young guys, you 3, I think, have the biggest potential of anybody. And I could
Thank
have
you.
said that to anyone. Do you know what I mean? I looked at 3 of yous and it goes, there's a reason why Sam at the time tagged yous for an OTT championship opportunity. Because you, I think you 3 could be, if there's a 4th person, you could be the 4 pillars of OTT in the future.
Yeah,
Do you know?
exactly. Yeah, I appreciate that. Means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
So
And I'm sure
when we're on
Josh and Keane.
controversial opinion of OTT, and he said it's different now than it was before the pandemic. One
Yeah.
thing that's very different in OTT, that was better, it was probably better pre than it was post, is the women's division or lack thereof right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've a women's
100%.
champion, but no division.
Yeah. Yeah, I think honestly, and this is going to be controversial, probably get me cancelled. But here we go.
This is what the show's for.
This is what the show is for.
Just the actual
And
podcast.
it's not a fault of women as a whole, because some of the best wrestlers in the world are
absolutely
women.
not.
Like they are. It's for whatever reason. It's Irish women. God damn it, Irish women. Well, it's a joke. No, it just wrestling doesn't appeal to a lot of women in Ireland to the point where they want to train. We have somebody training with us. Her name's Katie, and I think she's going to do fucking fantastic. She is really, really good. And I don't know. I don't think she's ready for shows right now, but like hopefully within the next year she can be ready for shows. But she's really, really good. But that's one woman in an entire wrestling school, you know. It's there's just not an appeal, at least in the School of Irish Wrestling. I know Fight Factory do their like women's only training as well, and maybe there's more there, and maybe that's a better environment for a woman to train. But it's not producing in Ireland enough talent, you know. Like one of the best Irish women's wrestlers at the moment, or 2 of them actually, are over in England, as Debbie and Anita Vaughan.
Need you to say Anita Devine, yeah.
Yeah, like they're over in England doing great stuff over there, which that has a better scene because there's more women. It's just in Ireland, there's not many women that are in like just training at all. Like there's just not, and it's very unfortunate. It's something that I would love to see change because, yeah, like we need women's wrestling. Women's wrestling is extremely important, but especially with Karen as well, or with Sasha Martina.
Listen, you can edit out one. We pretend that didn't happen.
It's going to happen a million times.
Yeah.
With Sasha Martina, like you can bring in an import for her to wrestle, but she's wrestled everywhere. Like, and that doesn't excuse like not booking them. But we're talking about storylines and such, and you know, there's no that one of the best storylines of last year was Debbie and Sasha Martina. Like one of my favorite matches last year was Martina winning the belt. And we just don't have anything like that. So you can get an import and give her, you know, an okay match. Is that going to do more than giving her a good storyline? Maybe, I don't know what is happening at Scrappermania, but
yeah,
she's making an appearance.
Myself personally, I was hoping that they were going to continue pushing Anita before she moved over to England, which she had to benefit her career because, like you said, there's not much.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I'd love to give you a solution to why no women like wrestling in Ireland, but yeah, it's just a thing. It's a very unfortunate thing. It's hopefully changes. Fight Factory, like I said, they do more women's focused training. I think it's LGBT and women's and non-binary people. I think it's mainly focused on them, and hopefully that gives those women and those people more of an itch to train and get on shows and maybe come to our school or go to Hard Knocks or whatnot, and start getting their names out so we can start building back up a women's scene. And even at that, like, wrestling as a whole in Ireland is in a lull. It's not as hot as it was pre-pandemic. And that's nobody's particular fault, because you can point your fingers at Joe, or you can point your fingers at the venues, you can point your fingers at the wrestlers, you can point your fingers at the fans. At the end of the day, it's just not in a great spot. But I personally feel like with OTT, there's nothing but potential in OTT. And I personally one day want to have OTT on my back and be the world champion. And I personally think I can draw a lot more people, a lot more eyes into the product. It's just being given that opportunity, and that's all I'm scratching at, is to be given that opportunity. And that's what a one woman needs to do, one or two or three, hopefully 10 women do, where they just have the competitive edge that me and the rest of the lads have, where we all want to be the best. We all want to be OTT champion. We all want to be on the show. We all think we're better than the other. And we need 10 women. That's it. Just 10 women with that competitive edge to start producing great women's wrestling in Ireland again. My opinion. So hopefully I'm not cancelled. Am I cancelled? I'm not sure.
I wouldn't say you'd be cancelled.
I'm sure you're going to get a text after this airs off Raven Creed asking if he wasn't mentioning your wrestler names, but
there's another one, yeah. But that's another person that's in England in progress, doing great things in England.
Doing really well in progress.
She's a big RCW draw as well. From going down to Cork, a lot of people love her.
And again, she's another person who has built a really good character for herself.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like, she could come back to OTT, but she's done everything in OTT. But what is there left for her to do? There's no women for her to feud. There's no championships for her to win. She's won them.
You don't want that doing Session Martina for like year, 2 years, 3 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
And she won the OTT women's championship.
Raven Creed.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was champion when I first started watching.
Fair enough.
Sometimes you have to go down the archives OTT.
Yeah.
I remember she was feuding for it, but I don't know if it ever actually culminated in her winning a title.
It was
Maybe she didn't know. It was
it was the old championship, like the butterfly-esque one.
Oh yeah.
Check that one.
But yeah, actually, I was gonna say that with the women's division, I was actually saying about that there's literally no one for Session to, mingle with and stuff, and it is quite worrying. But
you can't just wrestle Corey Zero. Like, that's somebody. Sorry to interrupt you. I like Corey Zero is another person that you have to mention. She can't just wrestle her every show. That's the only other woman at the level of Karen, at the level of Session Martina.
Martina, yeah. I get you, but no, it's just and you even mentioned about, look, it's no one's fault that it's gone down this level in Irish wrestling, but do you think, though, there is still, like, look, listen, there still could be a year, 2 years, 3 years where there could be people who could get an interest, no matter if it's a man or a woman, and could just go, listen, this is a brilliant opportunity for that sort of person or this sort of platform to just make a name for themselves, no matter, who they are.
So, a couple of days ago, it was announced that Luke Frehel is going to be making his OTT main roster debut against Scotty Davis. I've ridden up and down this country with Luke. It does not take a beat of sweat to say that he's one of the best minds in our group of lads. He is a great hand in the ring, and all he needs is an opportunity, and he's finally getting it. And I think he's going to, impress people, and he's going to be like the forefront, not the forefront, sorry, he's going to be a fixture in the next couple of years of OTT. He's somebody that people need to watch, and he has a great look to him as well. So I'm very excited to see that match. So that's one guy that's started training with me that hasn't gotten an opportunity yet. Second guy is Stanley Turnpike. He is a very, very skinny and lanky man, but he one of the best personalities of our group as well. I've laughed so much with him, and he's my merch girl. We're the merch girls together. If you ever been to an OTT show in the last 2 years, it was me and him selling new merch. So yeah, he's a guy that's just waiting for his opportunity. And I hope to God he gets it soon enough, because he's refed a couple of shows, but he's really, really a good hand in the ring and a really engaging character that I think fans will really like. And on the guys that haven't been on, well, he's been on one show, but not been in like a full show yet and have his full debut, is Darrow O'Toole. You've probably seen him around. He was the fake Be Cool twice on the shows. Yeah. He is fantastic. He is like the reincarnation of Paddy Morrow. He picked up pro wrestling in like 2 months. Fantastic. And I cannot wait for the day that not only the fans get to see him wrestle, but I get to wrestle him in the ring. He is somebody that he's also the kind of guy that is very skinny, very athletic, but one day he's just going to go like, all right, I'm just going to take a shit ton of creatine, a shit ton of protein, and just get jacked. Probably a couple of steroids, but we don't know yet.
He's just going to get
how much editing, how much fucking editing.
He's just gonna. He's so witty. He is like one of the quickest witted people that is training. He is fantastic. So he's another guy to look out for as well. But your question was like, do I see anybody in the next couple of years coming in? Truly, I do. They just have to want it. What makes, like you mentioned, me, Keane, Josh, the Sam, Luke, Stanley Turnpike, all of us started on the exact same day, and we are all hungry for just creating art through wrestling, and you need to have that level of commitment and level of desire and level of just like wanting it so bad. Like we want it all so bad, and if you don't have it, you're not going to make it. We started in a group of like 20 odd beginners, and we're whittled down to 5 that are still around, or sorry, 6. There's 6 of us that are still around. And like we all want it so bad. You just have to want it. I like people coming in and training for the first time, but you can really tell when people just don't want it. They don't really want to put in the effort. They don't want to just sit there and listen. They just go, I'm in a wrestling ring. This is really cool. It is really cool, but shut the fuck up and listen. It's a lot of people that just really don't want it, and it's hard to tell when somebody is like 2 months in and they're barely listening and they're barely, whether they want it or not. They could be shite, but you can learn to get better. You can't learn to just have that desire and that ability to just want it. So that's my long-winded way of saying yes to your question.
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant answer. And for the guys that you mentioned there, if we could see a lot more of them as well, other guys who can, go to different places in Ireland and make a name for themselves, not just OTT, but in FiveMarks, in RCW, or even, Fight Factory, anywhere that they can try and make a name for themselves and then eventually go into OTT. It's not just a bonus for us fans, but it's also a bonus for OTT, because you're just going to get more names, going to get more characters, and then you're going to get a lot more new matches, because I love seeing new things, you know what I mean? It's like you can't have this toy and they're going to love it forever. You need to explore your options and all. So if we as fans, like me and Tony and everyone else who watches the product, is going to see new people come in, then we're excited.
100%.
But can I just to even end, let's say, the next probably 20 to 30 minutes of this podcast, can I shift back to WWE?
Do we have 20 or 40 minutes left in this podcast?
I'd say we do. I think we have about probably 20, 30 minutes. I'm just guessing.
We're up 20 to 10 as it stands.
I just know that we start at 8 o'clock. So I know we're about an hour and a half.
I'm selfish. I want to watch us win a gold medal in boxing tonight. So
No, I know, yeah. But what I was gonna say was if we're allowed to shift back to the WWE, and I was gonna say for this episode, I was gonna say for me and Tony to give one, doesn't have to be a plethora, just one hot take or controversial opinion, got to do with wrestling at the moment. And I could start off with you, Tony. If you had to give one controversial opinion currently at the moment.
My controversial opinion absolutely separates every fan because they don't know why. They'll ask me how do you think that, and my controversial, my hot take is that Cody Rhodes is overrated as fuck.
Tony, what?
Like, if his last name wasn't Rhodes, he'd probably be spit shining people's shoes backstage before getting a push.
You think he's overrated?
He's overrated as fuck.
You on drugs?
He's forced more than we throw than John Cena was 20 years ago.
I wouldn't go to that extreme.
I would.
Right, so come on. Other than the second name and that, what's a genuine reason why you think it's overrated? Why you think he's overrated?
The whole story thing, like the run in, the Avenger-esque, which I was at Mania 40. I love the whole Avenger-esque people showing up kind of thing. Just like once it ended, you were like, oh yeah, he won. What next? The story's over. What? There's nothing for him to finish. He's a victim. He's a victim of his own momentum.
I think Cody Rhodes is a big fucking nerd, but I don't think he's overrated, and I think he is one of the best WWE champions in the last 10 years. And he's also a draw. You have to look at pre The Rock being an absolute twat, for people to actually like have a proper opinion on Cody Rhodes as a character. Then we didn't believe him. He was a nerd. He was somebody that was goofy as fuck. He had a goofy walk. He had a chicken thrown at him during the main event of WrestleMania. He was really, really goofy. He couldn't get over in AEW because he was just trying so hard to be likable and to be this big baby face and to be this whole fucking American dream-esque nightmare thing, whatever he was trying to portray. He was trying to end racism. Just all these things that made him out to be like a bit of just a fucking nerd. And what really helped him not be a nerd was two things. One was to finish the story. That was something that you can tell was genuine and made him more likable and less of a nerdy person. And then the second was The Rock. If The Rock wasn't trying to save his image and trying to main event WrestleMania against his cousin, and if it wasn't so ham-fisted and done in such a shit way, and if it just didn't create the most sympathetic Cody Rhodes, he wouldn't be WWE champion. He wouldn't be over, and I think it's not really forced. It was forced last year, but this year it's not forced at all. And I think he's had a really good run as WWE champion. And his promos are all the same, but they're he at least feels more real than a lot of wrestlers do.
Yeah. Well, for someone who's a big Cody fan, I take very offense to his comments saying that he's overrated because he's the slightest not overrated. Like, if you ask me, when he was in WWE at first, was probably one of the most underrated wrestlers. Someone who should have probably even won the 2013 Money in the Bank for SmackDown when Damien Sandow won it, because you knew when Damien Sandow won it, they weren't going to do harm with it. You know, he was only there to win it to portray Cody, because everyone actually thought at that time, with the stash and how popular Cody was getting, that he was going to win it that year, but he didn't. He gave it to Damien Sandow. But when he left WWE, everyone knows
You're welcome.
he was frustrated, right? He was frustrated, and that he wasn't one of, you know, Dusty's kids, even though he was Dusty's kid. You know, he wasn't someone who was getting a lot of attention, and he wasn't getting pushed. And he said that, like, his own dad said, well, if you're not cut for this, then you shouldn't be doing it. So he had to make himself get released from WWE to go and learn the craft in the indie scene. And then, like, straight away, he called himself the American Nightmare. Even though he was a baby face and he went to TNA, a lot of people were excited to see him go and do indie shows and stuff. And then when eventually he joined Bullet Club, that was a big step for him to elevate his American Nightmare character. But then eventually he turned heel. And that's what a lot of people wanted him to be in AEW. He wanted to be this vicious heel, because when he's a heel, he's better on the mic and he's very more compelling. But I think Cody is more than that. And even in WWE now, it just shows that's why he's one of the biggest baby faces in the company. He's probably the face of WWE, you know, because he can be someone you can engage with, someone that you can always look forward to what he's doing. Now, do I think his WWE run has been amazing? No, I would basically lie to you if I said I did. But I don't think that's even the fault of Cody. I think it's the fact that Triple H has fucked him into a SmackDown roster that doesn't have really many compelling characters other than, let's say, the Bloodline and Randy and Owens. Other than that, I don't see anyone challenging Cody or being a threat to Cody for his championship to then make me believe that he's one of the most interesting things in WWE. But there's no denying that when he walks out in his team song, he gets everyone wowing and everything. Like, you're gonna get excited for a Cody match, you know what I mean? Like, anyone who says that he wouldn't would be just lying, you know. And he is good in the ring, you know. He never has a bad match, and that he's decent on the mic as well, you know. Just doesn't matter if he's a heel and he doesn't say all these. He's not out of the box. He can gravitate to it. You can still have a connection, you know what I mean? And not only that, he's faded away from the whole Rhodes name. He's gotten away and he's doing his own thing. And that's a lot of people who don't realize that. He doesn't want to be referred to as that anymore. That's in the past. Now he's a champion. He can go in his own path and do his own thing.
To your point there, like, as of right now, when you say Cody Rhodes, like, what do you think of Cody Rhodes? You think of the Homelander jacket, you think of the woe, you think of the shitty tattoo, you think of a lot of things before.
The blonde hair as well.
You think of the finish the story, you think of his goofy walk, you think of a lot of things before you think of Dusty Rhodes, in my opinion.
And then he starts talking, and the first thing he says.
That is true. He does mention his dad way too much.
No, he doesn't know. But since we're going to be talking about overrated, I'm going to be talking about my hot topic, my hot take of this episode. And it's something that's happened recently that has made the whole wrestling world explode. And it was the most obvious thing that happened. I didn't react to it personally because you just knew what they were doing. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago when we did the preview, and I just knew that the reason why they put this match as the main event was because of this particular thing. And that is that Roman Reigns' return at SummerSlam is the most overrated return in WWE history. Right? You might think, right, oh my God, that's a mad thing to say. He's back as a babyface, the whole Bloodline storyline, everything that's going to happen leading up to him and possibly The Rock at WrestleMania. But how obvious they were doing it. You see when Solo Sikoa took out Jimmy and how he was mentioning Roman a lot, and that he was like, well, I'm the new tribal chief, he's never coming back, and blah, blah, blah. When you think about returns, you even think about, you know, Edge in 2020, Cody in 2022, or even you're going back, you think about John Cena in 2008. All of these returns were so groundbreaking and so unexpected. Like, even the same with Cody. Yeah, Cody didn't sign an AEW contract, but you didn't know if he was going to be at, you know, WrestleMania. But when he came out, it was a massive. Everyone in AT&T Stadium blew the roof off that stadium when he came back, because it's such a mad thing to think about at the time, but it happened. With Roman, when you're mention Roman in the storyline, and you are really putting him to come back at SummerSlam and putting even Cody and Solo as the main event, you're not putting that for the match. You're putting that for the return. When he returned, yeah, he Superman punched Solo, and it was an amazing reaction and the ooh and stuff like that. But I've been on Twitter and I've been saying to the same people, where was that energy 8 years ago or 7 years ago when you were all booing him the fuck when he defeated the Undertaker? Yeah, his character wasn't amazing. It wasn't compelling. It was very generic. It was a Vince McMahon character.
He wasn't built right back then.
No, he wasn't built right. But I'm just saying here right now, these same people who hate his guts love his guts, and it's like, I just think I hate, not that I hate it. I just, everything about his return just feels fake. It just feels like these are all doing
Like
it
Cody's
just to
title reign.
get a bandwagon. No, I'm just, these are like, don't get me wrong, you're a true Bloodline fan, but these people who are loving the return and it's epic and he's one of the greatest of all time.
It was epic. He is one of the GOATs.
It was obvious. Even when he done the Cody.
Of course it was obvious. Stevie Wonder could see what was happening. They made it obvious. Stevie Wonder could see what was happening.
Yeah, I just didn't like it personally, but that's just my opinion. I think his return was massively overrated.
The only bad thing about his return was the fact he changed his music.
Yeah, I didn't like it because I was in the woodshed and I was like, that's not his music.
Yeah, I was like, oh, what? That's not right. And it gave me, like, people, the way it was filmed was you heard the music, you saw a bit of blue, and you're like, oh, it's blue. That has to be Roman Reigns, but like, that's not his music. And then it just cuts to head of the table, and you're like, oh, it is Roman Reigns. And then he walks out. I just thought that was very, for people that were sitting at home, it was very anticlimactic. I think Roman Reigns is the biggest draw since. You're talking to one of the biggest Roman Reigns haters from before the pandemic. I fucking hated Roman Reigns. I was a huge, one of the reasons why I stopped watching WWE in 2018. Like, I would watch WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble, and that was it. I did not like Roman Reigns. It was more so about the booking. I didn't like the booking of Roman Reigns. I always knew he was a good wrestler. But he is the best pro wrestler in the world at the moment. And he is somebody that can have a great match with anybody. And he carried WWE on his back during the pandemic, after the pandemic, the awkward phase of the shows after, and has had some of the best matches in WWE in years. And yeah, I think his return could have been done a lot better. I would have liked, what I wanted to happen was Paul Heyman to come out first. I thought that would have led to a bigger pop.
That's what I call. I wanted Paul Heyman to come out first. That was my thinking.
Yeah, because it was extremely obvious, but it could have put a seed of doubt into your mind, if Paul Heyman came out and maybe cost Solo a fall, not the whole match, but like could have cost Solo him winning the match, and then go for Paul Heyman, and Roman makes a big return, and with his original music and not fucking that new version of the Tribal Chief song. It's not great, but I kind of agree with you and I kind of don't agree with you. In a minute.
Yeah. It's just, I just seen it. It wrecks me head when I see it on my phone, and it's like everyone raving about, and it's like, oh, John Cena's was way better than that. I know I'm a big Cena mark saying that. Yeah, it might have been 16 years ago, but that to me is still. Anytime I see it now, it's like, Jesus Christ, I still can't believe that happened. With Roman Reigns, it was like you knew it was gonna happen.
I can't believe it's not more.
Even his return in 2021 against Roman, if you watch that, like the fans there just fucking like breaks the soundbar. Yeah, like that return was great. I don't necessarily think like surprise needs to be an element of a return. But
It makes it authentic, though.
it makes it
You know what I mean?
authentic.
I just think Romans wasn't authentic. I think people
I
cheered it because that's what they wanted. They wanted
yeah,
Roman back.
they were put in a kind of a rough situation because Drew and Punk was definitely the main event story going into
Yeah, it
SummerSlam.
was. It should have been main event.
It should have been main event. It would have made more of a surprise if it was where if the WWE Championship match was where Punk and McIntyre was. But then again, you're also wasting your main event star returning after 4 months and creating the biggest headlines of the entire event. And you don't go out of the show with that super headline, you know. You go that's in the middle of the card, which doesn't really fit. So it is like it would have made of a more of a surprise because everybody would have been, oh, it's the main of it's the middle, it's the mid card. Roman's not coming back, and then he comes back. The people would have just made up their mind that he's not coming back because it was at the end. People knew, and then it just made it worse. I don't know. I agree with you, but also like what the alternative isn't as good as well. It's like they both have positive and negatives, you know.
Yeah, but like, listen, it's gonna be one of the most interesting things when it does happen, when it leads up to WrestleMania, the whole bloodline thing. Because like I could say the same thing about Roman. If he wasn't Simone, he wouldn't be the main event. He wouldn't be even WWE. But that's easy for me to say. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've never had a connection with Roman. I could easily sit here and say, "Oh, I love Roman," and "Oh my God, he's brilliant. He's one of the biggest things ever." But from when I first seen him on his own, I just didn't compel. And like, I actually was more of a Rollins fan, even when Rollins turned heel. I just thought what he did on his own was more compelling than what Roman was doing. But it was like I never hate him. I hate is just such a strong word in the world and art, and then especially in pro wrestling, it's like you don't have to like something. I get that, but hate is strong. And then just some people at the time just really hated Roman, and these same people will love him and buy his t-shirts. And it's just, you hear Daniel Bryan said it, or Bryan Danielson say, just wrestling fans are fickle. They're just the most ficklest fans ever, because it's whatever they feel like or it's whatever's popular. Do you know what I mean? Just make your own mind up. Don't follow whatever everyone else is doing. Make your own mind up. Do you know what I'm saying? But will I be interested in it? Absolutely. But I'm not going to be fake and go, oh yeah, I'm going to love it. I'm going to buy a t-shirt for it. You know, that's why I just feel like, to me, it's so overrated, because I just don't feel like it's real to a lot of people. Probably unless you're a Roman fan. Do you know what I mean? But to me, and to probably, I think a lot of people who think that they love it, I just don't get it. But that's just me anyway. I could be a prick in that opinion, but that's just the way I see it anyway. But yeah, we're actually coming up to the end of the episode, because I know Tommy wants to watch the boxing, so I will let him watch the boxing.
It went on longer than I thought it was going to go on. We needed a long episode for the force back after a 3-week hiatus, so.
Yeah, but it has been a brilliant episode, and I just want to say thank you, Boots, for coming on and being a guest. We've loved hearing everything you've had to say about OTT, your hot takes on Will Ospreay, everything about what you did today in this episode was amazing. So thank you for coming on, like taking like out your time to.
You're not listening to my opinions. You have to criticize me, man. Like you're too nice. You're not.
No, I'm not saying I'm too nice. I can criticize. I'm being nice for the fact of you're taking time out of your way to interview, or not even interview, just being a guest, like, you know.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a lot of fun. Very controversial. I always feel bad because I'm a bit of a waffler. So if you give me the opportunity to talk, I will talk forever.
Well, you know how this is the Olympics. You probably get a gold in talking for Ireland.
Oh hell yeah! Like 10 words a second or some shit like that.
Yeah, but
no, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks very much for coming on. And here, listen, I know you've got a lot going on, and I know you're going to be returning in the ring soon, and we are looking forward to it. But you are definitely more than welcome if we ever discuss on Instagram or whatever, and we want you to come back. And if you come back, you're definitely more than welcome to come in and be a guest again.
Perfect. I'll be happy to when the time comes.
Yeah, absolutely, Boots. So thanks very much again, Boots, and thanks very much, Tony, as well, for being my lovely co-host as always. Tony, where are you? Is he gone?
I'm still here.
No, I thought you were going to say something. I thought you were going to compliment yourself.
Why would I compliment
Tony.
myself? That made me very egotistical.
Yeah, you're wearing a nice Jordan Devlin t-shirt. There we go.
Is the OG one that he released when he was in NXT UK?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But just to end it here, everyone, thanks for everyone who's listening to the new episode of Weekly Controversies, episode 28. We're doing well, Tony. We haven't got cancelled yet, but according
we
to
haven't.
Boots, it might be this week.
It could be this week's episode.
Could be this
Could
week.
very well be this week's episode.
Absolutely. But honestly, thanks everyone again for listening and for watching on YouTube. If you want to watch us on YouTube, we're on the FiveMarks YouTube channel. We're the Weekly Controversies podcast. If you want to see us on Instagram, on TikTok, we are Weekly Controversies 1 on TikTok. We are Weekly Controversies on Instagram. And if you want to listen to us on any platform on podcast, we have Spotify, which is the FiveMarks Weekly Controversies. So I've been Jamie. That's been Tony. That's been, I guess, Boots Murphy. And we are signing off.
Bye.
Long.